Morris Lesmore loved words. He loved stories and he loved books. His life was a book of his own writing, one orderly page after another. He would open it every morning and write his joys and sorrows, all that he knew and everything that he hoped for. But every story has its upsets. One day the sky darkened, the winds blew and blew. He didn't know what to do or which way to go. So he began to wander and wander. Then a happy bit of happenstance came his way. Rather than looking down, as had become his habit, Morris Lesmore looked up. Drifting through the sky above him, Morris saw a lovely lady. She was being pulled along by a festive squadron of flying books. Morris wondered if his book could fly, but it couldn't. It would only fall to the ground with a depressing thud. The flying lady knew Morris simply needed a good story, so she sent him her favorite. The book was an amiable fellow and urged Morris to follow him. So it looks like this book is alive. It is Humpty Dumpty. So this book is the story of Humpty Dumpty. Everybody knows that story, right? The book led him to an extraordinary building where many books apparently nested. Morris slowly walked inside and discovered the most mysterious and inviting room he had ever seen. It was filled with the fluttering of countless pages, and Morris could hear the faint chatter of 1,000 different stories, as if each book was whispering an invitation to adventure. Flying books? What? Then his new friend flew up to him and landed on his arm. It held itself open as if hoping to be read. The room rustled to life, and so Morris's life among the books began. Morris tried to keep the books in some sort of order, but they always mixed up themselves. The tragedies needed cheering up and would visit with the comedies. These are called genres. Books and movies, they have different genres or different themes. So comedies are funny, tragedies are sad, dramas are dramatic, action is a genre, okay? The encyclopedias, weary of facts, would relax with the comic books and fictions. All in all, it was an agreeable jumble. Morris found great satisfaction in caring for the books, gently fixing those with fragile bindings and unfolding the dog-eared pages of others. Sometimes, Morris would become lost in a book and scarcely emerge for days. What does the author mean by that when he says he got lost in a book? What does that mean? So if you get lost in a book, that means that you're reading for hours and you're only focused on that. You must really love reading, right? Yeah. Morris liked to share the books with others. Sometimes it was a favorite that everyone loved, and other times he found a lonely little volume whose tale was seldom told. Everyone's story matters, said Morris, and all the books agree. That's true. Every story matters, but also every person's story matters, right? We all have a story. At night, after all the stories that needed telling had been told, and everyone had settled down to their proper places on the shelves, the great big dictionary would get in the last word. He wrote of his joys and sorrows, of all that he knew and everything that he hoped for. Aren't the pictures in this book so beautiful?
Yes.
Yes. It's beautifully illustrated. The days passed, and so did the months. So time is passing, right? Doesn't time go by so quickly? Yeah. And then years and years. And Morris Lesmore became stooped and crinkly. But the books never changed. Their stories stayed the same. Now his old friends took care of him the way he had once cared for them. And they read themselves to him each night. Well, isn't that nice? See, when you're kind to people, people will be kind to you. Then one day, he filled the last page in his book. He looked up and said with a bittersweet sigh, I guess it's time for me to move on. The books were sorry, but they understood. Morris put on his hat and took his cane. As he went to the door, he turned and smiled, then waved goodbye. I'll carry you all in here. The books waved their pages and Morris Lesmore flew away. That's right. And as he flew, he changed back to the way he'd been that long ago day when they'd all first met. So now he's the man with in the sky with the books, right? The cycle of life. The books were quiet for a while. Then they noticed that Mr. Lesmore had left something behind. It's his book, said his oldest friend. Inside, it was Morris's story. All of his joys and sorrows, all that he knew, and everything that he hoped for. So he wrote a journal. He wrote his story in a book, right? And then when he left, when he moved, his story was still there. Let's see what happens to the story. Then the books heard a small, expectant sound. There in the doorway was a little girl. She looked around with wonder. Something fantastic happened. Morris Lesmore's book flew up to her and opened its pages. The girl began to read, and so our story ends as it began. That's the end. Okay, can you guys give yourself a round of applause for being awesome listeners and readers? Yes, very good. So now we have some books for you all to take home, okay? Is that okay? Yeah. All right, so I just want you to make me one promise. I want you to promise that you're going to read the book. Can you do that? Yes. Okay. Can you promise that you will practice reading a little bit each day? Yeah. You can promise me that? Yes. Well, so this is right on time, right? This is right on time, right? Okay. And you tell your parents that if you need more books to give us a call, okay? I'll write down our information for you.